Welcome. This story is taken from my book, Conscious Kids, and I've adapted it as a meditative story for people of all ages. So before the story begins, settle into a comfortable position and allow the outside world to grow a little quieter. Let your breath become natural, easy, unforced. As you listen, you're invited to notice what your mind is doing. If attention drifts, if thoughts appear, or if the mind wanders away from the story, nothing has gone wrong. Simply notice with no judgment, no pressure. Then gently return to the sound of my voice, to the images this story creates in your mind, and to the quiet rhythm of your breath. This is also an opportunity for you to notice the sensations you feel in your body as you're listening. Try to allow whatever comes up to be there. Give it your full, unconditional attention, whether what you feel is comfortable or uncomfortable. Let the story unfold like a doorway into the hidden theater of the mind. Let us begin now. The Mind Circus. Ravina and Siona met during their first year at university and became friends almost by accident. Siona was bright, warm, and easy to be around. She moved through life as if something good might happen at any moment. Her thoughts were light. This might be fun. I'll figure it out. Everything will be okay. Ravina was different. She was intelligent, funny, and sharper than she gave herself credit for. But her mind often moved like storm clouds gathering over a city. What if I embarrass myself? What if they don't like me? What if something goes wrong? Her thoughts did not simply pass through her. They pressed. They tightened her chest. They drained her energy until even simple things felt heavy. Still, the two young women loved each other. Siona loved Ravina's dry humor. Ravina secretly admired Siona's trust in life. One autumn evening, Siona rushed into their campus lounge, cheeks flushed from the cold. "The Moon Circus is in town," she said. "Acrobats, illusionists, music, lights, everything. Come with me." Ravina looked up from her laptop. "I don't know. My treat." Ravina sighed. Already her stomach had tightened. Too many people, too much noise, too much effort. But Siona was still standing there, hopeful and glowing. So Ravina closed her laptop. "Fine," she said, "but if it's awful, I'm blaming you." By the time they reached the fairgrounds, evening had deepened into violet. Lanterns swayed in the wind. The air smelt of rain on pavement, roasted nuts and warm sugar. Music drifted through the dark. Low drums, silver bells, and a violin winding through it all like smoke. Above them, the great striped tent rose against the sky. It seemed almost alive, breathing in the wind. Inside, the world became gold and shadow. Dust shimmered in the lantern light. The circus ring waited at the center, empty and expectant. The show began with acrobats in silver costumes, flipping and leaping as if gravity had loosened its hold. Fiona leaned forward, delighted. Ravina watched with narrowed eyes. One wrong move and someone breaks a wrist. The thought landed in her body immediately. Her hands clenched, her breath shortened. Next came aerialists climbing long ribbons of blue silk, rising toward the ceiling like birds in moonlight. The crowd held its breath as one woman released the ribbon and spun downward, catching herself just before the floor. Applause thundered. Fiona clapped, breathless. Ravina's stomach tightened. Why would anyone do that on purpose? She said out loud. Finally, an illusionist stepped into the ring wearing a dark coat lined with stars. He made coins vanish. He turned fire into flowers. Then he bowed and said, "And now the most mysterious act of all." The lights dimmed. "I need volunteers." 20 people climbed into the ring. The illusionist walked slowly before them, his voice low and rhythmic. "Close your eyes," he said. "Listen only to my voice." One by one, their heads tilted forward. Their shoulders dropped. Their bodies softened. The tent grew so quiet that Ravina could hear the canvas snapping gently in the wind. "When I count down," the illusionist said, "you will open your eyes and see tiny white goats running everywhere. You must gather them before they disappear." He counted down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The volunteers opened their eyes and scattered across the ring, laughing, crawling, reaching for invisible goats. The audience roared. Even Ravina almost smiled. Then the illusionist raised his hand. "When I clap," he said, "the goats will vanish and you will see a great red dragon." He clapped. At once the volunteers leapt back, shielding their faces, shouting, ducking behind one another. There was no dragon, only sawdust, only lantern light. Only the quiet power of a thought believed completely. Siona's laughter faded into wonder. "Their minds believed it," she whispered, "and their bodies obeyed." Ravina said nothing, but something inside her went very still. After the show, they wandered through the fairgrounds beneath strings of golden lights. Near the exit, a woman in a crimson cloak stood beside a glass bowl filled with folded slips of paper. "Door prize?" she asked. Siona reached in first. "Free cinnamon popcorn," she said happily. Ravina reached in next. Her slip read, "One session with Madame Gabor, keeper of the Mind Circus." Siona's eyes widened. "We have to go." "No, we don't." But a curtain had already opened behind the woman. Beyond it stood a smaller tent, lit from within by amber lamps. Ravina felt the familiar tightening begin. This is weird. This is probably a scam. Something embarrassing is going to happen. Still, some quiet part of her stepped forward. Inside, the air smelled of incense, damp wool, and old books. Madame Gabor sat behind a round table covered in dark velvet. She was older, with silver hair and eyes that seemed to notice everything. "Ravina," she said. Ravina stopped. "How do you know my name?" Madame Gabor gestured to the chair. "You have been living under a spell." Ravina crossed her arms. "I'm not under a spell." The lamp flickered beside them. The flame bent, steadied, and rose again. "Every mind makes suggestions," Madame Gabor said. "Some are useful, some are cruel. Some are old, some were never true. But when a thought is believed without question, the body must live inside it." Ravina looked away. Madame Gabor slid a tiny bottle across the table. The liquid inside was dark purple, almost black. "A few drops in tea," she said. "Tonight you will see the shape of your thoughts." Ravina stood too quickly. "I'm going home." The cold air outside hit her face. She walked away from the lights, away from the music, away from the tent that seemed to breathe behind her. On the bus ride back to campus, thoughts tumbled through her mind. Siona is probably mad. I ruined everything. Why am I like this? Each thought tightened something inside her. By the time she reached her room, she felt exhausted. Rain tapped against the window in a soft, uneven rhythm. Ravina made tea and stared at the tiny bottle. "This is ridiculous," she muttered. Still, she added 3 drops. The tea darkened. Steam rose slowly, curling and uncurling like a question. She took a sip. Nothing happened. "Of course," she said. Then a thought rose. "I'm such a terrible friend." From the center of her chest, a small, dark bubble lifted into the air. Ravina froze. The bubble shimmered like black glass. When it touched the lamplight, it trembled and burst. And from inside it came her own voice. I'm such a terrible friend." The room went silent. Another thought rose. I make everything difficult. A second bubble lifted. It burst. I make everything difficult. Then another. Everyone else knows how to live except me. Pop. Everyone else knows how to live except me. All evening the bubbles rose. Some were large and heavy. Some were small and quick. Some carried thoughts she recognized. Some were so old she could not remember when she had first believed them. I'm too much. I'm not enough. Something bad will happen. Each time a bubble appeared, Ravina watched it. And each time it burst, the thought sounded less like truth and more like an echo. Rain continued tapping the window. The lamp glowed softly. The room grew quieter with every bubble that dissolved. By midnight, Ravina sat on the floor, wrapped in a blanket. Nothing had been fixed. Nothing dramatic had changed. And yet, her chest felt more open. as if a heavy coat had slipped from her shoulders. By morning, the bottle was empty. Her first thought was, today's going to be awful. Ravina waited. No bubble appeared. For a moment, disappointment flickered. Then she understood. The magic had never been in the bottle. The bottle had only helped her see. The real magic was noticing the thought before becoming it. Later that day, she found Siona in the campus cafe. Siona looked up carefully. Ravina took a breath. Hey, I'm really sorry I left like that. Siona's face softened. I know. Ravina sat across from her. For a while, neither of them said much. The cafe hummed around them. Cups clinked. Steam rose. A thought appeared in Ravina's mind. She hates me. But this time, Ravina saw it. Not as truth, not as prophecy, not as a command, just a thought. A small, dark bubble waiting for belief. Siona slid the bag of cinnamon popcorn across the table. I saved you some. Ravina laughed, a real laugh. Soft at first, then fuller. Her clouds did not disappear forever. Some days they still gathered. Some thoughts still came dressed as certainty. But something had changed. The spell had been seen. And once seen, it could no longer rule in quite the same way. From then on, whenever Ravina felt her chest tighten or her mind begin its old stormy performance, she remembered the Moon Circus, the invisible goats, the imaginary dragon, the volunteers obeying a world that was not really there. And she would pause, just long enough to see the thought, just long enough to let it pass. The mind could still build its circus. It could still raise its tents, dim the lights, and send illusions dancing through the ring. But Ravina no longer had to climb onto the stage every time. Sometimes she could simply sit in the quiet audience of her own awareness and watch the show dissolve. And when you are ready, come back to the room, come back to your body, and gently open your eyes.